Visa.
The Visa check card. Because money shouldn't slow you down. Life takes faster money. Life takes Visa.
Margaret, what era was that?
The era?
Yeah.
It sounded to me like silent film music or music from the 20s, which was actually really evocative because I thought the movement there, it reminded me of Metropolis or Modern Times or something. And it was about this idea that, you know, we're all cogs in the great sort of mechanism or machine of everyday life. And if one of us stops, the whole thing grinds to a halt. But the thing is that this ad didn't critique that as Metropolis or Modern Times did. It celebrated it. And it wasn't a machine of production. It was one of consumption, which I found really disturbing in a way. And I think that what's going on here is it's a new generation of credit card ads that is not about like celebrating the convenience and benefits of using a credit card over cash, but it's rather attempting to shame those who use cash. Which, you know, so cash now carries a stigma. I mean, how disturbing, especially disturbing for all those Americans, those millions of Americans who are credit poor.
I was fascinated by the idea that if you carry a lot of cash, you're a loser. This is...
And that, you know, suddenly it's going to take a lot more time for them to give you the change, et cetera. I mean, how many of us have gone in, used a credit card, and then, you know, the machine goes down, it's unplugged, the phone line, you know, whatever. I'm sorry, but cash is faster. You can't tell me that it's not. And then, you know, and then, of course, this raises another question, which I was thinking of the other day, which, you know, we all have people who panhandle on the streets. Now you can effectively say, oh, I really don't have any change because I only carry my credit cards, you know, I mean.
Maybe they'll have scanners.
No, exactly. No, so then they're going to have to get to the 20th century and say, oh, well, you could just give it to me.
Well, I think one of the problems I have with the substitution of credit cards for cash is the fact that when you use cash or coinage, often this signals your allegiance. I mean, certainly this was true in the ancient world. I mean, certainly at the time of the Persian Empire and earlier, what was on your coinage indicated with whom and with what political community you locate yourself, where your fealty is. And I don't always look at my dollar bills and think of George Washington and Valley Forge and so on, but you could in principle. And by substituting a credit card, you're actually removing, you know, national identity and heritage and allegiance. And it's not just for purchasing, because Visa is for life. You know, we're talking about life, not just the cash machine. I mean, you know, getting through the register.
I actually wanted to get back to what Margaret was talking about, and that's the most interesting thing for me is the music, because the music is in fact a tune called Powerhouse, which was used extensively in the Warner Brothers early cartoons. If you Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, Sylvester the Cat, and all that. And it's one of the very few that Carl Stalling didn't write himself that was used in the cartoons. But in the cartoons, if you remember them, this always showed sort of dystopian mechanical areas where, for instance, Sylvester the Cat is going through a thing and getting chopped up by little blades. But here they're showing it as human machinery being fully functional, kind of an anti-Charlie Chaplin modern times. And the person who brings it grinding to a halt is, like you said, the person who uses actual cash. And I can't believe we live in a society now where cash is considered inconvenient.
Actually, I was really interested in what you said about the ways in which cash itself is a cultural object that makes us identify it in certain ways, because in some ways, cash in America is a profoundly democratizing medium. You know, it's the same for everybody. Credit cards are not. You know, you're ranked by your credit card. Is it, you know, a platinum? Is it a gold? Is it just like some scuzzy, cheap one? You know? It is also a way of identifying people, but in a way that is not democratic.
Exactly. And cash, you can sometimes use them as maps of a country or determining what do they find of overriding value. Who are the leaders? But by putting corporate culture over political culture, it seems to me one is making a major shift of values.
So one thing that I think is actually very interesting is they're trying to sell this idea of, this is a faster medium. This makes you be able to be fast. And actually, that's not true. But I think what is true is for stores, lower manpower, because essentially
and better security.
Better security. You don't have to worry about your employees, taking a couple dollars here and there because they don't have access to being able to do this. So I think it's a really interesting thing that they're trying to sell it to us as consumers, but I think that actually it should be sold to stores. So.
Okay, time for our exit question. The music seemed to be from the 1930s. Name an important event from the 1930s, Margaret.
Oh, perhaps an economic collapse, catastrophic for tens of millions of Americans, caused by unsustainable debt.
Oh, dear.
April?
Grant Wood paints American Gothic while on faculty at the University of Iowa.
Ah, very good. Charles?
Very good. Rise of fascism.
Yeah, I was going to say, a little puzzled by this question. See, there was this guy named Hitler, and apparently he did some pretty bad stuff, and I'm kind of surprised you guys haven't, heard about it.
Well, I was going to go right there because I think the key moment was Kristallnacht, the night that the Nazis knocked out all the Jews and really plunged us all into 6 years of madness.